Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just just my presentation deals about private military companies and their geopolitical effect, and most case of Russia aggression on Ukraine. This is my content of my presentation, which I would like to review and discuss how these mercenaries appeared and emerged in the 21st centuries, mostly as military companies, which they have no any legal aspects in Eurasian space, and this is about the zone of instability, which once upon a time my professor and my teacher Zbigniew Brzezinski described in his very well-known book, just the chess game, and these are those zones where they are just been operated and work on this original case. So this is about when talking about where these military companies and today's mercenaries operate, we have to underscore two levels of threats, just symmetric and asymmetric threats. And of course, just private military companies and mercenaries are put on the second type of threats, where we can see terrorism, natural disaster, hybrid war, where they but just engaged and being active. So this about new just about term and jargon which been affiliated with the so-called private military companies and mercenaries in the 21st centuries. I guess in the Soviet Union it was a very popular movie, The Pirates of the 20th Centuries. Just if you someone who used to live in Soviet Union, you know about the movie. So I guess it will be just if just the movie maker will be just alive, he would have been just about prepared another just about second movie, but in this case it would be like a mercenaries of the 21st centuries, not a pirate, but mercenaries 21st centuries. And these non-state and violent non-state actors are just about key implications of these mercenaries of the 21st centuries. We have like 12 just identifications upon to which we can include violent non-state actors, and here private military corporations like Wagner Group and Patriot, because in Russia there are about more than 10 military companies, and Wagner is one of the most biggest one, but 9 also just has its own implications, just been included in this classification of the security studies. So it's about how it been worked irregular and conventional hybrid war, and Professor Maisaia, who is in Georgia, been thought to be the best specialist in the hybrid war theory, so she will give confirmation about how it works, hybrid war, where they played it. So this is about just about how these asymmetric threats are recluded in the Black Sea region here, and we can mention that here in the regional security dilemma, we can considering this involvement of these private military companies of just about Russian case here about new military threats and hybrid warfare zone emergence, where we can see where we can plus this Wagner group, and they also been active not only in Ukraine but in occupied territories of Georgia, because Wagner group has its military training bases and camps in so-called Skhinvali and occupied Abkhazian territories, where they just recruited their just supporters, and they have its own just informational cyber warfare just center of facilities. So this is about how it calls asymmetric warfare model, hybrid warfare, cyber warfare in idiosyncratism, new terrorism, a new jargon which identified that terrorists also just went behind of the simple case of this definitions, and terrorists has like a more military strategic operational basics, where just Al-Qaeda, just Islamic Caliphate and Wagner been operated very intensively. So that's about the so-called general Voitan also implicate about Gerasimov doctrine. But what does it mean, Gerasimov doctrine? I would like to give you just some implications, how it works. So this is about original, just about prescriptions of the President Putin when he get assigned to green line to the so-called hybrid warfare doctrine, which was proposed by Gerasimov. And it's also just included about identification of concrete military force, where Ukraine been targeted directly based on this military doctrine. modernization of the armed forces, net-centric warfare operation planning. This is what about talking about generals when talking about planning, and the planning was absolutely linked to the how the Russian just implemented so-called military companies, because military companies been implemented in ages of the net-centric warfare doctrine, which was just been prescribed by the Gerasimov himself, formulating military conflicts where Russians supposed to be involved in, and creation of Operation Strategic Command headquarters. By the way, I would like to give you some interesting facts that the war against Ukraine was planned and conducted not by the general staff of Russian Federation, but this so-called military operational center, which directly subordinated to the Vladimir Putin. So I would like to mention that personally Putin is blamed of starting and waging the war against Ukraine. Well, this about this center directly, who is just conducting and planned operation against Ukraine in 2022. Just it contains three elements: Strategic Nuclear Forces Command Center, Armed Forces Operational Command Center, and Combat Operation Planning Center. That's why Putin just about menaced that he will use so-called nuclear tactical weapons, because, and also just it's adjusted that those centers absolutely blamed of operating not only military private companies, but also operating about nuclear tactical weapon system. So this is about all planning system, how generals just about use. This is about in real life, how it likes in Russia. So this is about components of this Russians' new military doctrine, how it like creeping occupation and its basements. And this is about very interesting case, how these military companies of Wagner just operated from legal conspirations. Before the war waged against Ukraine, just Putin adopted three main decrees on providing equal right to Russian mercenaries with war veteran and regular army serviceman status, and it was happened before the war been just started. Second, decree on foreign citizens official recruitment and providing status of the Russian armed forces. This is also just one of the key implications of the international mercenaries, just about recruitment, which about contradicts about not only humanitarian but the general international law provisions. And second, decree on handing over combat armaments to Russians VNCA. Wagner Group just possessed all just about heavy armaments, including not only just strategic drones, but also just about strategic aviation jets and helicopters, and also just operated as like just about operational strategical entities of the regular armed forces. So this is about how just hybrid warfare and smart power been used in Russian. So this Syrian war, conflict in Ukraine, in Donbass, Venezuela turbulence, meddling in USA, just about elections, and of course occupied Crimea. This is about how just been operated according to the doctrine of 2014. And this is about how Russia used also just two systems about so-called in occupied territories. They also created with so-called Abkhazian armed forces, which also, according to international law, also just have status of the mercenaries and not just about official regular armed forces. They also created operational strategic alliances and coalition forces. You can, with Abkhazia, Armenia and Abkhazia, you can mention that Armenian and Abkhazian armed militaries are getting equal according to the Putin's just about Russia policymakers, and it's also just implicated how Russia also just terminates and breaking out these international all legal acts. This is about how works creeping occupation in Georgia. In the Tskhinval region, you can see how many territories they occupied, with, of course, including the mercenaries, with Ossetians, and Wagner Group also trained and equipped local Ossetians, so-called armed forces and local mercenaries. They are the main bodies of their recruitments. And this is about interesting case about urban warfare, because military companies are operating, they also use the new tactical elements. It was urbanistic warfare doctrine, strategy, which also just also belongs to the asymmetric combat operation domain, and etc. And this look at neo-urban warfare. It's a battle of the Mariupol, and of course battles between the armed regular forces for Ukraine with just mercenaries from Russian Federation, and they try to engage in the neo-urban warfare warfare doctrine. It includes maneuvering style of tactical missions, just massive casualties in peaceful and civilian population, light armament involvement and special force priorities, and just about asymmetric type of engagement. This is about elements of the neo-urban warfare, which been here, and this is how it's my just about novelties, which I introduced in military science, just about how new wars, according neo-urban wars, been developed. First step is like a political escalation phase. Second, economic war. Second, propaganda war. Then, military political declamation, Flax's muscles, and then final military confrontation phase. I would like to give you how war in Ukraine, according to this methodology, been waged and developed. This is about political escalation. Begins just about the Ukraine choice for NATO integrations, and then Russia also began to slam to Ukraine, not to allow just Ukraine to become Europe and European NATO membership. Second, economic war game. Energy war started when Gazprom just began and declared a full energy blockade and war against Ukraine 2015-2016. Then propaganda warfare. Sputnik, RT, Russian TV, Zvezda TV. Zvezda TV just emerged in about 2015, and specially was designed to wage information war against Ukraine. I would like to match this one. And this nowadays, Zvezda TV is the most aggressive and most brutal just about information television, which absolutely just have in the space to promote this warfare case against Ukraine. Then, of course, cyber war, where just special mercenary groups been involved, cyber mercenaries group involved. Second, when Russia began to just at last to flex its muscles, mainly in November and February 2001-2002, just about with mercenaries direct involvement. And of course, the last phase, the 20th February, when they just directly engaged and directly just involved in the warfare against Ukraine. So it's about the 5 phases, how Ukraine war just prepared by the Russians and Kremlin, and how they prepared to wage the war against Ukraine. And this is about those concrete international law, just concrete acts according to which mercenaries as like a brutal and non-legal just actors being declaimed. And according to this just concrete international law, Wagner also just put it in as like illegal just about entities according to these international legal acts. This is of course in here. And not only mercenaries but also links to the terrorists. This is so-called main implications. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much.